Hello, my dear listeners. My name is Sara, and I want to welcome you warmly to today's episode of Best English Podcast. If you're listening right now, it means you care about improving your English. And let me tell you this, that decision already puts you ahead of millions of learners who only wish they could get better. You are here, you are trying, and that's powerful. Today, we're going to explore a simple but life-changing idea, the 80-20 rule of English listening. This principle says that 80% of your results come from just 20% of your effort. Imagine this. Instead of wasting hours listening to things that don't help you, you could focus on the small part that gives you the biggest progress. I've seen students study for years and still feel frustrated, but I've also seen learners who apply this rule and suddenly make huge jumps in confidence. That's what I want for you. So if you've ever felt stuck, if you've ever thought, why don't I understand native speakers? Stay with me. Because in this episode, we'll break the cycle. And before we dive in, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this podcast with friends who are also learning English. Stay until the end because we'll put everything together into one clear action plan. You're listening to Best English Podcast, your daily step toward better English. The 80-20 rule is also called the Pareto principle. It means that in almost everything in life, a small part creates the biggest results. For example, maybe 20% of the clothes in your closet are the ones you wear 80% of the time. Or maybe 20% of your friends give you 80% of your happiness. Now, let's connect this to English listening. Many learners spend hours listening to songs, movies, or long lectures, but only a small part of that listening really helps them improve. The truth is, not all listening is equal. Some listening makes you stronger and faster, while other listening just feels nice, but doesn't train your brain deeply. Imagine this. You listen to one English podcast every day, but you always choose topics that are too difficult. Your brain gets tired, and after 1 hour, you remember almost nothing. That's wasted energy. But if you listen to just 10 minutes of something at your level, repeat it, and focus on key words, you get much more progress. That is the 80-20 rule in action. Let me share a short story with you. I clearly remember a student of mine, Mina. She was listening to American talk shows every night. She was proud, but also frustrated because she understood maybe 10%. Then I told her, Mina, cut your listening time in half and repeat short dialogues from English dramas instead. After 1 month, her progress was double. She smiled and said, Sara, now I feel English living inside me. Her story shows us that more is not always better. The right focus is better. And this is where the secret begins. Learning to choose the right 20% of listening that gives you the biggest growth. Many English learners believe that the more hours they listen, the faster they will improve. But this is not always true. The real problem is that they often listen without a plan. For example, some learners play English songs all day in the background. It feels nice, but they don't really understand the words. Others watch movies with subtitles in their own language, so their eyes do the work, not their ears. In both cases, they feel busy, but their listening skills do not grow. Let me share a story. One of my friends once told me about his cousin, Amir. Amir spent almost 2 years listening to English radio, every morning, every night, always English voices. But when he spoke with a tourist in his city, he couldn't understand a simple question. Where is the train station? His face turned red and he felt embarrassed. Why did this happen? Because Amir's listening was passive. He was hearing sounds but not training his brain to catch meaning. So here's the lesson. Not all listening counts. Only the listening that challenges you a little, but is still clear enough to understand, will help you grow. This is the 20% listening that gives you the 80% progress. Imagine you're at a cafe, listening to two people talk. If the conversation is too easy, you get bored. If it's too hard, you give up. But if it's just a little above your level, you stretch your brain like a muscle. So how do we actually find this powerful 20% of listening material? The answer is simple. Choose things that are just above your level and repeat them until they feel natural. Think about it like exercise. If the weight is too heavy, you can't lift it. If it's too light, your muscles don't grow. But if it's a little challenging, your body gets stronger. Listening is the same. Mini exercise. Take a short clip, maybe 2 or 3 minutes long. Listen once without subtitles, Then listen again, this time pausing to repeat key words. Finally, listen one more time while reading English subtitles. Notice how each step adds more understanding. Let me share a short story with you. I remember one of my students, Hannah. She loved listening to English news, but she always chose difficult political programs. She told me, "Sarah, I feel stupid. I can't understand anything." I suggested she try children's stories instead. At first, she laughed. "That's too easy for me." But after 2 weeks, she said, "Now I understand the rhythm, the words, even the jokes. I feel confident." Her story reminds us of something important. Confidence grows when you understand, not when you suffer. The right 20% is not the hardest material. It's the material that helps your brain connect step by step. And once you find that right input, the next step is learning how to use it with focus, not just letting it play in the background. Now that we understand the importance of choosing the right material, we need to talk about how to listen. And here, the 80-20 rule is very clear. Passive listening gives you little progress, but active listening gives you big results. So what is the difference? Passive listening is when English is just in the background. Maybe you're cooking, walking, or scrolling your phone while a podcast plays. Your brain hears sounds but doesn't focus. Active listening is when you give your full attention. You listen carefully, notice words, repeat phrases, and even write down new vocabulary. Imagine this. You're at home, washing dishes, and you play an English song. After 3 minutes, you can't even remember the lyrics. That's passive. But if you sit down with headphones, play the same song, and repeat after the singer, suddenly it becomes active. Let me share a short story. One of my students, Rio from Japan, told me he listened to English podcasts every night before sleep. For months, he saw no progress. I asked him, "Do you remember anything from last night's episode?" He smiled and said, "No, I always fall asleep after 5 minutes." We laughed, but it was a clear example of passive listening. When he switched to focused, short sessions during the day, his listening skills improved quickly. His experience shows us this. Active listening is the 20% effort that creates 80% of your growth. But how can we practice active listening step by step? Pause. That's what we'll discover next. One of the strongest tools in listening practice is repetition. Many learners think they must always listen to something new, but the truth is, listening to the same material many times is far more powerful. Why? Because the first time your brain is busy trying to catch sounds, the second time you notice words, the third time you start to feel the rhythm, and after a few more times, the phrases become natural, like part of your memory. Mini exercise. Choose a 2-minute clip. Listen to it 3 times in one day, once in the morning, once in the afternoon, and once at night. Don't force yourself to understand everything. Just notice how much easier it feels with each repetition. Let me share a short story with you. I clearly remember a student of mine, Daniel. He was impatient. He always wanted new material. One day I gave him a short interview to repeat for 1 week. He said, "Sarah, I will get bored." But after 7 days, he surprised himself. He could remember whole sentences without looking at the text. He told me, "It feels like my ears are finally awake." His story shows us that progress comes not from variety, but from depth. Repetition is not boring, it is training. And once you master repetition, you start to hear something deeper, the patterns of English. English is not only about words, it's about patterns. When you train your ears to notice patterns, you stop translating and start understanding naturally. For example, listen to this sentence. Do you want to grab some coffee? The pattern is, do you want to plus verb. Once you know this pattern, you can recognize it in many situations. Do you want to watch a movie? Do you want to go outside? Instead of hearing each word separately, your brain catches the rhythm and structure. Mini exercise. Next time you listen to English, try to write down one pattern you hear. For example, can you, or I'm going to. Then practice saying it in 3 new sentences. Let me share a short story. One of my friends once told me about his sister, Aisha. She used to struggle with English movies. She paused every few seconds to check the dictionary. She was always stressed. Then she started listening for patterns instead of single words. She realized that characters often repeated the same structures. After 2 months, she laughed and said, "Sarah, now I understand the movie even when I miss some words." Her story reminds us that fluency is built on patterns, not perfection. And once you can hear patterns, the next challenge is catching the rhythm and music of English. English is often called a stress-timed language. This means that some words are strong and clear, while others are soft and fast. Together, they create a rhythm, almost like music. For example, listen carefully. I want to go to the store. The words want, go, and store are stressed. The other words are softer. If you only focus on every single word, you miss this natural music. But if you train your ears for rhythm, you start to understand English even when you don't know all the words. Mini exercise. Play a short clip. Instead of writing words, tap your hand on the table every time you hear a strong word. This will help you feel the beat of English. Let me share a short story with you. I remember one of my students, Marco. He told me, "Sarah, English speakers cut their words. I can't follow." But really, he was missing the rhythm. After practicing with tapping exercises, he said, "Now I don't hear noise anymore, I hear music." His smile was full of relief. His experience shows us that listening is not only about words, it's about sound and flow. One of the secrets of the 80-20 rule is to choose listening that matters to you. When the topic connects with your life, your brain pays more attention and you remember more. For example, if you love cooking, listen to short cooking shows in English. If you enjoy sports, follow sports commentary. If you like technology, find tech podcasts. The content feels natural because it's part of your interests. Mini exercise. Write down 3 hobbies or topics you love. Then, find one short English video or podcast about each. Notice how much easier it is to stay focused when the subject is interesting to you. Let me share a short story. I had a student named Priya. She wanted to improve her listening, but she always chose random business news because she thought it was serious English. The problem? She was bored. One day I asked her, "What do you really enjoy?" She laughed and said, "Makeup tutorials." I told her to listen to them in English. After 2 weeks, she came back excited. "Sarah, I understand so much more now." Her story shows us that interest creates focus, and focus creates progress. And once you connect listening with your personal life, you are ready for the next level, making listening active by speaking what you hear. Listening alone is powerful, but the real magic happens when you repeat and speak what you hear. This trains your brain, your ears, and your mouth at the same time. For example, if you hear, "I'm going to the store. Do you want to come?" Don't just understand it, say it aloud. Repeat it 3 times. Feel the rhythm, stress, and connected speech. "I'm gonna the store. Do you want to come?" Mini exercise. Choose a short audio clip. Listen to one sentence, pause, and repeat it aloud. Try to match the tone, speed, and stress of the speaker. Your voice will train your ears to hear better. Let me share a short story. I clearly remember a student, Liam. He was shy and worried about speaking, but I told him, "If you want to understand, you must also speak." At first he whispered, then slowly he spoke louder. After 1 month he said, "Sarah, I now understand more, and I can even reply naturally." His confidence had grown because listening and speaking worked together. His story shows us that active listening is not only hearing, but also echoing. And once you start speaking what you hear, the next step is noticing small words and contractions that native speakers use all the time. English has many small words and contractions that learners often miss. These are like tiny puzzle pieces, but they make a huge difference in understanding native speakers. For example, gonna equals going to, wanna equals want to. When you listen carefully, you notice these words everywhere. If you don't, English can sound like a blur. Mini exercise. Listen to a short conversation and write down all the contractions you hear. Then try to say them aloud naturally, like a native speaker. Let me share a story. I remember one of my students, Sophia. She listened to English songs for months but said, "I hear fast words, and I feel lost." We started highlighting small words and contractions. After 2 weeks, she laughed. "Sarah, now I hear everything." The music and the words make sense together. Her story reminds us that understanding small words makes a big difference. Once you catch these, your listening becomes smoother and more natural. And when you master small words, the next step is to predict what comes next in a conversation. This is a key 80-20 listening skill. One of the most powerful listening skills is prediction. When you predict, your brain prepares for what's coming next. This makes understanding faster and easier. For example, if someone says, "I'm really tired today, so I think I will," you can predict, "Go to bed early," or "Take a nap." Even if you don't hear every word, your brain fills in the meaning. Mini exercise. Listen to short conversations. Pause before the last word of a sentence and try to guess what will come next. Then play to check. This trains your brain to anticipate and understand naturally. Let me share a short story. I clearly remember a student of mine, Ethan. He always waited for every single word before understanding. This slowed him down. After practicing prediction exercises for 2 weeks, he told me, "Sara, I feel like I'm catching English before it even arrives." His confidence grew, and he could follow conversations much faster. His story shows us that prediction is like catching a moving train. You don't wait, you move with it. And once you get comfortable predicting, the next step is listening for emotions and tone, which adds another layer to understanding. English is not just words, it's also emotions, tone, and intention. Paying attention to these helps you understand meaning, even if you miss some words. For example, imagine someone says, "I can't believe you did that." The words alone don't tell the full story. Listen to their tone. Are they joking, angry, or surprised? Tone gives you extra information that words alone can't provide. Mini exercise. Listen to a short dialogue. Focus only on how the speaker says each sentence. Notice stress, pitch, pauses, and emotion. Then try to imitate it aloud. Let me share a short story. One of my students, Hannah, loved watching movies but struggled to follow emotions. One day, we watched a short clip together. I asked her to notice tone, not every word. After a few minutes, she exclaimed, "Sara, I can feel the character's happiness, sadness, and anger even when I don't understand every word." Her listening became much richer and more natural. Her story reminds us that tone is a secret shortcut to understanding. Even when words fail, emotion guides you. And when you combine prediction with emotion, your listening becomes much closer to native level understanding. By now, you've learned several powerful strategies. Choosing the right 20% of listening material. Active listening, repetition, recognizing patterns, rhythm, and small words, prediction, and listening for tone. The next step is to combine them all in one practice session. This is where real progress happens. Mini exercise. Pick a short clip, around 2 to 3 minutes. Listen actively, repeat sentences aloud. Notice patterns and stress. Identify small words and contractions. Predict what comes next. Feel the emotion and tone. Do this slowly at first. Then, as you get confident, increase speed or try longer clips. Let me share a short story. I clearly remember my student Miguel. He used to practice each skill separately, but when he combined them, he told me, "Sara, it feels like English is alive. I understand, I speak, I feel it." His excitement was clear. He had reached a new level of listening. His story shows us that integration is the key. Practicing in pieces is helpful, but real fluency comes when everything works together. And now, in our final part, we'll put everything into a simple daily plan that you can follow to improve consistently. Congratulations! You've learned the most important strategies of the 80-20 rule for English listening. Now, let's put them into a simple daily routine you can follow. 1. Choose the right material. Pick something just above your level that interests you. 2. Listen actively, focus fully, repeat sentences, and notice keywords. 3. Repeat and review. Listen to the same short clip 2 to 3 times a day. 4. Catch patterns in small words. Notice rhythm, contractions, and sentence structures. 5. Predict and feel tone. Anticipate what comes next, and pay attention to emotions. 6. Speak aloud. Repeat what you hear to train your brain and mouth together. Mini challenge. Start today with just 15 minutes. Pick one short clip. Go through all 6 steps. Do this every day, and you'll notice real improvement in just a few weeks. Let me share a short story. One of my students, Lena, followed this plan for 1 month. She said, "Sarah, I finally understand English conversations at cafes, in movies, and even in podcasts. I feel confident." Her voice was full of joy, and I could feel her excitement through the phone. Her story reminds us that small, focused effort consistently beats long, unfocused hours. This is the essence of the 80-20 rule. Thank you for listening to this long episode. Remember, consistency and focus are your best friends. Apply these steps every day, and you'll see your English listening improve naturally. You've been listening to Best English Podcast, your daily step toward better English. See you in the next episode, and keep practicing with heart and focus.